Coming up this week on Talk with Audrey, there are two issues of concern to many. Children are going hungry during the summer. And of course, then there's the high cost of electricity for many of our seniors. Audrey Rowe, USDA Administrator of Food and Nutrition Services, and David Scanlon from the Sodexo Foundation have information about how to locate summer meal programs in your community. And hand in hand with the arrival of summer comes higher electricity prices. And for many, especially those on a fixed income, this can be a literal matter of life or death. Hal Quinn, the President and CEO of the National Mining Association, is my guest, and we're going to talk about the EPA's Clean Power Plan and how it could impact millions of Americans. And lifestyle and technology expert Carly Knobloch joins me with some tips for staying stress-free while traveling. And then if you're planning a staycation and you're having a good old-fashioned backyard barbecue, Maureen Petrosky. She's a professional chef and lifestyle expert. She has tips and ideas to make your next summer bash a surefire hit. It's all coming up on Talk with Audrey. Insightful, intelligent, inspiring conversations to help you improve the quality of your life. I'll be right back after this.
I'm Tim McGraw, and I have a challenge for you. Nearly 30 million Americans have diabetes. Most have type 2 diabetes. I've seen firsthand how it impacts Americans from all walks of life. It's affected my family, friends, and fans. That's why I'm speaking out about how important it is for those living with type 2 diabetes to get their blood sugar under control. I'm encouraging all Americans to join me and challenge their family and friends with diabetes to get to their A1C goal. I've learned that about 1/3 of adults living with diabetes are not at their A1C goal, which can lead to serious health problems over time. Let's change that. If you have diabetes, take the challenge. Pledge to work with your doctor to set and reach your own A1C goal. Also, be sure to learn if you're at risk for low blood sugar and how to reduce that risk. I'm a strong believer in making healthy choices, and I want to help my family, friends, and others with diabetes do the same. Join me now at americasdiabeteschallenge.com. Together, we can make a difference.
Hi, welcome back to Talk with Audrey. Thanks so much for tuning in. I want to start off the show with some real issues of concern: hunger and the increasing cost of energy. During the school year, there are about 21 million children who receive free and reduced price meals. This according to the United States Department of Agriculture. But when the school lets out for the summer, there are only about 3.5 million who participate in summer meal programs. And that means that there are far too many children going hungry. Well, there are several public and private efforts working together to bridge the meal gap. Audrey Rowe, USDA Administrator for Food and Nutrition Services, and David Scanlon with the Sodexo Foundation join me, and we're going to talk about how to identify summer feeding programs for children and some other resources available in your community. This is a really serious issue, Audrey. From the USDA's perspective, why are there so many hungry children in this country?
Thank you for having us. Well, there are a number of challenges during the summer to feed children. As you said earlier, 21.7 million children receive school lunch, but only about 3.5 during the summer. One of the challenges is that schools are not in all communities are not available, so children don't have a site to go to. Transportation is a real challenge for children, for families to have access to a summer meal site. Information on where sites are located. Families feeling embarrassed that they have to find a location to ensure that their child has a healthy meal. And so the summer food program is slightly different than the school program in that as long as it is in a school district in which 50% of the children participate in free and reduced price meals, every child in that community then has access. So it gets rid of the stigma associated with I need help to feed my children. And within those families, about 5.6% of the children go to bed at night not knowing if they're going to have a meal the next day, or go to bed still hungry because they haven't had adequate food. We know that there is a significant hunger problem, and this gap during the summer has to be closed.
Well, I know that the USDA already has several programs, and you're working with Feed Our Future, which was created by Sodexo.
And they have been a very significant partner for us in many communities, and as well as our work with Share Our Strength, Feed the Children, and Feeding America. But as a private company, having their involvement because of where they're situated in our schools has been very, very critical and important to address this issue.
So David, let's talk about Sodexo and the Feeding Our Future program.
Sure. The Feeding Our Future is in 24 communities across the country. We're able to mobilize the resources of our employees who have the desire to volunteer, as well as partnerships with our suppliers and our clients, providing facilities and raw materials to be able to provide meals to children who might otherwise go hungry during the summertime when they're off on vacation. They're able to access the programs by checking with their local YMCAs and Boys and Girls Clubs. We partner with local organizations to be able to provide access to these meals.
Audrey, you mentioned that transportation might be a problem for some families trying to access meals.
Well, there are several opportunities to bridge that gap. One is that we've been working to increase the number of mobile sites that can travel around in a community and provide meals to children, where they either come on a bus or the site pulls up and they're able to, children come and they're able to distribute meals to them at those locations. We've been encouraging faith-based organizations who have vans that are sitting idle during the summer to serve as transportation for children in areas to get them access to a facility. We are looking and working with rural housing development so that facilities and programs can be right there in rural housing so the children don't have to leave their community. But any child who lives near that housing could then come and also have access to a healthy meal.
Well, that's important and something that people probably aren't aware of.
Correct. And, you know, for the group where it really is significant are teens. And so we have been working to reach out to teens. We have a program called Meet Up and Eat Up. Again, any child any teen who is, pick up basketball, they can then go and have a meal, go back and have basketball. There is no stigma attached. It is a summer meal that is available to all children in the community who are, where the community is receiving 50% of the meals for free and reduced price.
How can people access those programs?
You can call 1-866-3-HUNGRY. Provide your zip code and find a location that is close to you, or you can Google Summer Food Rocks, and it will take you to the USDA website. And again, you can put your zip code in, find a location, but you can also click on and find out how to volunteer and help. Because these programs that exist in these communities need volunteers. They need individuals to help both with the programming and the distribution of food.
Thanks, Audrey and David. Guys, help us eradicate hunger by passing along this information to your community, your friends, family, and houses of worship.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to talk about this.
We're working with you to end hunger.
Up next, another concern for many Americans, the high price of utilities during the summer months. Hal Quinn, the president and CEO of the National Mining Association, is my guest, and we're going to talk about the EPA's Clean Power Plan and how it could impact the cost of energy after this.
We all know the scary statistics for women in heart disease.
But we are not statistics. We are unique.
Women's symptoms are different than men's, making diagnosis of blocked arteries more difficult.
There are many testing options, but not all of them are designed with women in mind.
So, if you have a heart, know your options and spread the word.
To learn more about obstructive coronary artery disease and testing options for women, visit GoSpreadTheWord.com.
You're watching Talk with Audrey. I'm Audrey Adams. Hand in hand with the arrival of summer comes higher electricity prices, and for many, especially those on a fixed income, it can be a literal matter of life and death. Hal Quinn, the president and CEO of the National Mining Association, is my guest. The EPA's Clean Power Plan could impact us, and we're going to talk all about it. Hi, Hal. Thanks so much for joining me.
Hi, Audrey. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks so much. During the summer months, you can count on a substantial increase in your electricity bill, and that seems to be the case, even if you don't do anything to increase it.
Yeah, that's a great point, because you don't have to be using any more to be paying more as we take more power plants offline through these regulations. We've already seen a series of regulations from 2 years ago by EPA that's forced into mothball quite a few power plants that supply power 24/7. Now, we'll be seeing new rules that are designed to do the same thing, and they'll be doubling down on the amount of power that's taken off the grid. So you can see that there's a lot of risk in terms of whether you'll be able to get the power you need, and then when you do, you'll be paying quite a bit more.
Well, that's not a good thing.
It's not, particularly when we see across the board double-digit increases in monthly utility bills will be the result in at least 40 states across the country.
Well, you know what I noticed, Hal? I have friends in other states that don't seem to have such high utility bills. Why is that? You mentioned that there are 40 states. Are there 10 states that are doing something different?
Well, there are states that have lower cost power sources, particularly states that rely on abundant coal as a fuel source. Their utility costs are sometimes a third to half those of other states where the sources of electricity are less diverse and you don't have that much competition in the system. So if you look at California or New York, their costs are probably 40% higher than you would see in Ohio or Nebraska or Kansas or states along those lines. And that will get even that'll become even more of an issue going forward with these new EPA, what I like to call the costly power plan.
Well, so let's talk about that plan. Can you give us some of the high points?
Yeah, what EPA is doing is they're saying, hey, we need to reduce carbon dioxide from the power sector. So we're going to actually put a limit on the amount of electricity in your state. We're going to give you a budget, and also we're going to put in that budget, here are your choices in terms of where you can get your power from to meet the targets we've set for you in your state. And so what's going to happen is fewer sources are going to be available, so your power bills go up. Right now we have a very diverse, robust electric grid that serves the country well, and because of the diversity of using coal, natural gas, wind, nuclear, and that mixture, that power grid saves Americans, or cost Americans, $93 billion less than it otherwise would. EPA's costly power plan is going to change all that. It's going to easily wipe out those savings and probably impose costs in the order of $325 to $385 billion over the next 10 years.
And why this potential huge increase?
Well, because you're going to have fewer sources available, and when you take a major source offline like coal baseload power that runs 24/7 and you make that less available, you're going to put more pressure on other sources like natural gas. So the prices will go up for not only electricity, but homeowners that use natural gas for, let's say, heating in the winter, factories that need it as a feedstock, they're also going to see their natural gas prices go up as well.
So as a country, we're relying less on coal.
That's where this plan will take us, unfortunately, which is to make our energy portfolio less robust, less diverse because of that.
Is it up to each state to deal with whether or not to participate?
They do have a choice. I mean, EPA will set a national rule, but under the law, a state has a choice of whether it wants to participate. So it can just say, you know what, I'm not going to do this, and EPA, you're going to have to do it on your own. We think that's actually, if a governor considers it closely, compares the risks and costs of allowing EPA to do it itself rather than the state trying to do it, that's actually turns out to be a less costly and less risky option, mostly because EPA is asking the states to do more than EPA could do itself. So we think EPA, left to its own devices, will not be able to impose as much cost on the states as EPA is asking the states to do.
So as governors are making decisions about which direction to take for their state, people really need to speak with their elected officials about what they want.
That's absolutely right, Audrey. I mean, after all, it's the citizens, the voters are going to be paying the bill either way. So they ought to be asking their governors and the state elected representatives to examine the choices before them.
Well, I know that high energy costs are high, but I also know that regardless of what I do, even if I turn all my lights off and I don't use the air conditioner, that the cost every month remains the same. I'm just wondering, what am I doing?
Well, it's becoming a real burden for everybody, and can you imagine what it means for those families and those people on fixed incomes, whether they be seniors or others? I mean, they're really getting squeezed. But even those in the middle class, I mean, if your income's not going up, but your costs are going up, particularly something as basic as electricity, you're going to have to make some hard choices.
And people shouldn't have to make those hard choices between staying warm, staying cool, eating, paying their rent, their health insurance. You hear a lot about heat stroke during the summer months, and unfortunately it happens to many of our senior citizens while they're in their homes because they can't pay their utility bill, and that's a shame.
That's right.
Of course, Hal, folks like information, so where can we go?
Well, they can go, Audrey, to a website. It's countoncoal.org, O-R-G, and they'll find information about this issue as well as other issues they should be interested in terms of their power and where they get it from and how much it will cost them under these policies.
There's one thing for sure. We all like to think that we can't weigh in on everything, but you can weigh in on something. Either way, you're going to be impacted. That's
absolutely right. This is not inevitable unless you allow it to be. So talk to your governors and talk to your state elected representatives and ask them to talk to the people in Washington.
It starts with you. If this is an issue that you are passionate about, check out the website and speak with your elected officials. My guest has been Hal Quinn, President and CEO of the National Mining Association, and we've been talking about the EPA's Clean Power Plan. Informed is empowered. Thanks, Hal.
Thank you, Audrey.
Up next, summer travelers are now finding all the comforts and conveniences of home while on the road. Carly Knobloch, lifestyle and technology expert, joins me with some tips for staying stress-free. And then Maureen Petrowski. She's a professional chef and lifestyle expert. She's got tips and ideas to make your next summer bash a surefire hit. We'll be right back.
We all know the scary statistics for women and heart disease.
But we are not statistics. We are unique.
Women's symptoms are different than men's, making diagnosis of blocked arteries more difficult.
There are many testing options, but not all of them are designed with women in mind.
So, if you have a heart, know your options and spread the word.
To learn more about obstructive coronary artery disease and testing options for women, visit GoSpreadTheWord.com.
The summer travel season is in full swing, and according to a Harris survey, 68% of Americans will hit the air, roads, and rails to enjoy a leisure trip this summer. And with new technologies emerging constantly, travelers are now finding all the comforts and conveniences of home while they're on the road. Carly Knobloch, lifestyle technology expert, joins me now with some tips for staying stress-free. So, what are the hottest new trends?
Well, I think when it comes to technology in the air, laptops are out and tablets are in. I see them on everyone's tray tables, and many of them run a full office suite. So not only can you watch a movie, or play a game, but you can also get a lot of work done. And it's much lighter in your laptop, than a laptop in your carry-on bag. So definitely a trend that I'm seeing there. Another thing that I'm seeing in the air is that people are increasingly going online, and with a service called GoGo In-Flight, which now is being upgraded to be up to 3 times faster. So if you've used it before, it's getting really, really amazing in terms of the speed of it. You can check your email, you can surf the web, just like you would on the ground. It's on up to 2,000 domestic planes right now, and between 50 and 100 international planes by the end of the year. So going to be increasingly available for you to go online up in the sky.
What technology trends?
Yeah, well, I would say one of the cool trends that's happening right now that I think hotel chains are starting to really pay attention to is some select Starwood hotels and resorts are allowing people to now check in by text and then they send them a code that allows them to unlock their hotel room door via Bluetooth. So they completely skip the front desks, they check in much faster and are much more independent with their whole check-in experience. So I think that provides a level of convenience and speed that travelers really like, and I think it's going to be something we're going to see a lot more of.
And what about seats? What do you use to find the best seat for your money?
Well, I never book a seat without using an app called Gate Guru. So when you're ready to book your seat, you open up this app in another browser window or on your phone next to your computer, and it shows you where all the good seats are. It rates the seats, the entire airplane. It shows you a map of your flight on that date, and it'll show you which seats don't lean back, because isn't that always the worst when you get on and you don't have a seat that reclines? It'll show you where all the outlets are on the plane, because sometimes planes that have outlets don't have them in every row, and you're always wanting to power something up when you're on a plane, so that's great. And it shows you, which ones are close to the bathroom, and it will literally rate them all for you, so you can see where the extra legroom is, if it's worth it to you to upgrade, to spend money upgrading, or just choose from the seats that are offered to you without an additional cost. So Seat Guru is a great resource for knowing exactly what you're doing when you're choosing a seat.
Carly, thanks so much for the tips.
It was my pleasure, Audrey.
Are you thinking more about a staycation instead of a vacation? Better yet, how about gathering your friends and family in the backyard for a good old-fashioned barbecue? Up next, Maureen Petrosky. She's a professional chef and lifestyle expert with some tips to make your next summer bash a surefire hit. I'll be right back.
I'm Tim McGraw, and I have a challenge for you. Nearly 30 million Americans have diabetes. Most have type 2 diabetes. I've seen firsthand how it impacts Americans from all walks of life. It's affected my family, friends, and fans. That's why I'm speaking out about how important it is for those living with type 2 diabetes to get their blood sugar under control. I'm encouraging all Americans to join me and challenge their family and friends with diabetes to get to their A1C goal. I've learned that about 1/3 of adults living with diabetes are not at their A1C goal, which can lead to serious health problems over time. Let's change that. If you have diabetes, take the challenge. Pledge to work with your doctor to set and reach your own A1C goal. Also, be sure to learn if you're at risk for low blood sugar and how to reduce that risk. I'm a strong believer in making healthy choices, and I want to help my family, friends, and others with diabetes do the same. Join me now at americasdiabeteschallenge.com. Together, we can make a difference.
Welcome back. Summertime and backyard parties go hand in hand. But how do you make yours stand apart from the rest? Maureen Petrosky, professional chef and lifestyle expert, has some tips and ideas to make your next summer bash a surefire hit. Hi Maureen, how you doing?
I'm great, how are you? Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm all revved up for summer, and I'm sure everyone else is too. And looking forward, of course, to entertaining outside.
That's right. Summer is one of the best times for entertaining. There's so many great things that we have to work with, whether it's cooking or setting up, and I've got tips for everything from getting you ready for the party to what to enjoy when your guests come.
Great, because I'm a hot mess.
I doubt that. I doubt that. Well, one way to stop from being a hot mess and to spend more time at your parties, I like to set up a basket of must-haves. I find that often I'm running in and out of the house looking for last-minute things or requests, whether it's a Band-Aid for someone's bruised knee or even bug spray. So I put together this basket that has a first aid kit, sunglasses, visors, and most importantly, that bug repellent. Mosquitoes can be a total buzzkill at a party, but you can keep your guests comfortable by using off bug repellent. And I love to use the mosquito lamps. They actually protect a 10 times larger area, and once I activate them, they last for up to 6 hours. So I don't have to think about them at all during my party. So that gives me a little bit of leeway to enjoy and spend some time with my guest.
Well, I love the basket idea, Maureen, to have everything at your fingertips and not having to run in and out of the house and letting all those pesky bugs in. Makes sense.
And I'll tell you, once I put it together in the beginning of the season, it kind of just stays this way. Everything finds its way back to it. I just have to tweak it a little before the next party.
Well, and of course you have to eat.
And it's so simple. I just say dress it up just a little bit. Adding sauces like mayonnaise or dressing to any of your favorite recipes can make it fun and healthy. Dressings can bring healthy fats to the table, which some people don't think about, and they help us to absorb things like vitamin E and C, also folate, so we're getting a little bit of a healthy twist on our food too. But dressings can do double duty. I like to use them as dips for veggie platters. It's simple enough once you put together a dressing. And then also when I'm grilling, I like to use it in marinades.
And Maureen, how about some tips for keeping our food safe in the hot summer sun?
That's a good question. So people often are concerned about that. And you can always go to, again, I mentioned that website, that's the Association for Dressings and Sauces. It's dressings-sauces.org, and all of the timelines are there for you. I think people get a little concerned when you put a number on something. Primarily, make sure your dishes are cold as long as they can be before you serve them, and that they're only out during the time that you're serving them. So you want that to be as short a period of time as possible, just to prevent anyone from getting worried about their foods. But you shouldn't have to be too concerned because parties you don't leave the food out the entire time.
And the other thing, hopefully, that folks are also eating that food pretty quickly.
And when you make it with all these delicious dressings and sauces, it'll be gone before they even know it, so you don't have to worry.
And what's on the grill?
I love to switch up my burgers just a little bit from those big sizes to some sliders. Here I've got some California sliders. They are loaded with some avocado and tomato, using those veggies from the garden again, cucumbers, even lettuce on there. And I like to use Laura's lean ground beef. It's 92% lean, so I'm making a healthy choice for my family again. Less than 9 grams of fat per serving. And you can feel good because this beef is humanely raised, no antibiotics, and no growth hormones either. And when you use the slider portion, it helps with portion control. So you're being sneaky there and helping with portion control, but it's still delicious. And they also have a variety of other products, like 100% grass-fed.
There's definitely a difference in the taste of beef that's been grass-fed.
It's much more delicious, and you'll be surprised. It's actually easier to cook too. When you start with a good product, you're going to end up with juicier burgers and better tasting hot dogs. They're less likely to dry out. They're less when there's no additives there, and no, like I said, none of those antibiotics. You're starting with a good product. You're going to end with something delicious.
And what are we sipping? Responsibly, of course.
And I love to entertain in summer because it's spritzer season. I love a little spritz in the summertime. And Barefoot Refresh has come out with this new line of spritzers. There's 5 different flavors. They're refreshing, they're light-bodied, they're perfect served chilled, and even better over ice. They were made for perfect summertime, entertaining like cookouts and laying by the pool. And like I said, there's 5 different flavors, so there's something that you can share with any of your family and friends.
Where can we go for some more tips and information?
You can go to dressings-sauces.org, and you can also find out more about that spritzer wine at barefootwine.com. Laura's lean beef that we talked about, that healthy choice for your family, that's laurasleanbeef.com, and keeping those pesky mosquitoes away. Simple enough to find out about our mosquito lamps at off.com.
Happy summer, and thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks, you too.
Well, that's it for today's show. I'll be back next week, and I invite you to join me for more insightful, intelligent, inspiring conversations on Talk with Audrey. Thanks for watching. I'm Audrey Adams. I'll see you next week.